friends, welcome to a new video. Today I bring you 4 experiences on routes of our country. Each one encloses a different situation that I hope you enjoy until the end. As always, I invite you to leave me your comment to know what your opinion is about these stories. And finally, I want to thank everyone who has collaborated with the channel, whether a lot or a little. Everything helps me to continue creating more content. So I want to say thank you. If you have any experience to send me, you can do it through email, also through Instagram, or you can do it by WhatsApp to the number I leave on screen. Please, to this number only send in audio format, and you can also add photos or video. It doesn't matter how extensive, what you send me has to have as much data and details as possible about what happened. I ask you not to worry if I don't answer you. I get so many messages that it's honestly impossible for me to respond to all of them. But I want you to know that as much as I can, I'm reading the experiences and selecting them. When I start to prepare them, I contact the person who sent it to me to finalize some details. Now, without further ado, let's start with today's video. Just a few months ago, more precisely in December, a few days before the holidays, something happened to me that gives me the assurance that we are always being taken care of. I don't know by whom or why, but that night I felt that I am never alone. I am from the town of Moreno, but I work in an accounting firm in Pilar for some years now. I ride a motorcycle for speed and agility in case of roadblocks or accidents. I have much more freedom to move around and evade whatever comes up at the moment. But this issue is still not relevant. I stayed in the office much longer than usual because it was one of my colleagues' birthdays. I was heading home around midnight. I took Route 25, it's usually the way I return, and it was quite calm due to the time. In fact, much more than usual. While there's always traffic, it's not the same as during peak hours, but that particular night there were very few cars. I would tell you that I was almost alone on the road. The night was pretty ugly. A tremendous rain started, and it was impossible to walk normally, so I slowed down because I could hardly see anything. The motorcycle is new, it was almost 2 years old at that time, and I always took great care of it. I don't know if it was the rain or something else, but on the road, right after passing what is the vegetable market of Pilar, the motorcycle completely shuts off. I couldn't even turn it on, it was dead. The area is desolate and quite ugly. I didn't know what to do, and the only thing that occurred to me was to walk pushing the motorcycle to a friend's house who lives in Villa Stolfi, about 30 blocks or more from there, but I had no option. I'll tell you the truth, I was quite scared. It's not exactly a very nice area, and being at that time, walking with the motorcycle in the middle of the road, I felt completely exposed. Luckily the rain had stopped quite a bit, and it was only drizzling a little. As I was saying, it was very striking to see so few cars on the road, but it was the least of my worries. I wanted to get to my friend's place and see what to do from there. Just before the entrance to the neighborhood, about 200 meters I estimate, if I'm not mistaken it's Argentinian Lake Street, I see 2 motorcycles coming, with 2 kids on each one. They passed by and looked at me in an unfriendly way. Then I see them turn around and stop right at the entrance between Route 25 and Argentinian Lake. They were right there. I knew very well what was going to happen. They were waiting for me there for some reason, or at least that's what I thought. Their maneuver was highly suspicious. I don't think they were going to steal the motorcycle because it wouldn't start, but it had my backpack, phone, wallet, and some money. I didn't really care so much about what they stole from me, but rather if something happened to me. I stood there for a few seconds thinking about what to do, but I didn't have many options and kept walking. I was watching them talk to each other. I was very nervous. I was so scared that I almost didn't notice a van pulled up next to me. The man driving yelled something at me that I didn't understand and parked right in front of me. I stopped and watched him as he got out and approached. He was an ordinary man, and I even got the feeling that I knew him from somewhere, although I later realized that I had never seen him before. He told me he was heading to Moreno and asked if I needed help with the motorcycle. This man helped me load the motorcycle into the truck bed and got me out of there. While we were on the way to Moreno, he mentioned these guys I saw and told me he's seen them before and that they're bad kids. I was lucky they didn't rob me. While he was telling me this, I was wondering, why didn't they rob both of us when he stopped? We were there for a while loading the motorcycle. Everything, honestly, happened so strangely that I didn't say it. This man took me to my front door, helped me unload the motorcycle. I really thanked him for what he did, and he left. But do you know what was the strangest thing? When I was pushing the motorcycle going into the house, I looked back and the van was gone. It was 2 seconds and it was gone. I live on a dirt road and it's impossible that it disappeared so quickly. I never knew what it was, but I'm totally sure that night I was saved from something bad happening to me. My mom is certain that it was my dad. He died in 2014 and always took care of us like the best. I don't know if it was him or not, but whoever it was, I will always be eternally grateful. Not long ago, traveling from Catamarca to La Rioja, something very strange happened to me. Very few people know about this, as the two people I mentioned it to the next day took it as a joke, but regardless of what they may tell me, I assure you it was totally real. And first of all, I want to clarify, I don't consume alcohol or drugs as perhaps many might suggest after hearing what happened to me. In January of this year, 2022, I was in the province of Catamarca for work and also made a trip to La Rioja. Due to time issues that are not relevant, I left late. It was past 10 at night. It's not a long trip, it's only 150 kilometers and Route 38 is in very good condition. I've made this trip several times and nothing ever happened to me. In fact, I can assure you that in over 20 years of traveling the country's routes, nothing like that night ever happened to me. I've seen strange things, but never like that. The night was beautiful and the sky was completely clear. As I told you, I was going down Route 38 and it was a few kilometers after I passed the intersection with Provincial Route 9 that this happened to me, which to this day has me confused, and not because of what I saw, but because they were two things that I believe have no connection with each other, and at least for me, no logical explanation. To put it in context, I can tell you that I was alone on the road, there wasn't a car, total darkness, a starry sky, and a pleasant temperature. Just like that, and out of nowhere, something crosses my path on the road. It was a person in the middle of the road. It was a man, and the image is still stuck in my head. He was wearing a blue plaid shirt. It's impossible to forget that image. The worst part is the blow. I hit him at over 100 kilometers per hour. I felt the jolt and saw him when I threw him to the side. I automatically hit the brakes and pulled over to the shoulder. I grabbed the phone and called 911. I got out of the car, and with the flashlight on, I ran to find this man. And this is where everything gets strange. There was no one, no blood, no man, nothing to indicate that someone had been hurt. Not on the road or shoulder, nobody there. I didn't stop searching because I was sure of what had happened, but at the same time, I don't know how to explain it. A deep fear was flooding me as I couldn't find him. After some time, a patrol car came and I described the incident. They helped me search, but as I tell you, there was no one. They accompanied me to the car. I wanted to show them the crash. The impact was tremendous. The three of us in front of the car saw that the front of the vehicle was perfectly intact. There was no sign of a collision. Automatically, the two police officers asked me what I had consumed, even though they realized I was perfectly lucid. They asked me. They took the matter as a joke. They got in the patrol car and left. After this, I sat in the car thinking about what had happened. I didn't understand this situation at all, and it was at that moment that, looking in the mirror, I saw that there was a shadow near the roadside behind the car. I rushed out to check if it was him. Upon arriving, there was no one there, but that's where fear overcame me. As I looked towards the woods that start about 30 meters from the road, I saw a woman. She was dressed all in black, or at least it seemed that way, and she was staring at me. Even though it was very dark, I can tell you that I saw her clearly, and the worst part was feeling her in my head. I felt an extremely strong pain that was unbearable, and I heard a whisper inside me that was calling my name. It was so strange, so ugly what I felt that to this day I swear it makes me want to cry when I tell it. I felt completely helpless. I was alone in the darkness of that road. I don't know who that woman was or what she was, why she was there, but I can assure you that it was not something normal. I ran to the car, started it, and left as fast as I could. La Rioja has countless legends about witches, which I honestly never believed until that night where all my beliefs were put into question. I would like to know if anyone else saw something similar on that route, if this happened to anyone else, and fundamentally if anyone can explain to me what happened that night, both with this woman and with that man I ran over, and I'm sure that's what happened. I've passed by there a few more times, and although the nerves returned, I didn't see anything strange again. Needless to say, I only make this journey during the day. I don't think I'll ever drive at night again. This situation happened to a young man who worked in the funeral service of Monte Quemado in Santiago del Estero. Although his work always went smoothly, nothing ever happened to him. One afternoon was the exception, to such an extent that it really left him quite scared. He was returning on Route 16 from leaving a deceased in the city of Pampa de los Guanacos, and it was when he was reaching the population of El Cabaret that a truck driver in the back signals him with lights. This driver slows down thinking that maybe he wanted to overtake him, but it was not like that. The truck also slowed down following him closely. After a while, a new truck appears, again signaling him with lights and gestures to stop the funeral car. This man got a little scared and instead of braking, he accelerated even more to get away. The situation was making him tense, suspecting they might want to rob him. Another truck appeared but on the opposite lane, and this hearse driver watched as it braked across him in the middle of the route, completely blocking his way. The other two trucks were coming from behind, so he had no choice but to brake. He got out of the car, he didn't understand what was happening. The truck drivers also got out shouting, and one of them with a thick stick. He asks what was happening, while another yells to let the girl he had kidnapped go. This driver, very scared and not understanding anything, pleads with them to check the hearse because there was no one kidnapped. They confirmed that it was true. The car was completely empty. They all assured that in the back, where the coffin goes, they saw a desperate girl signaling for help and they thought that maybe she had been kidnapped. After hearing this, the driver didn't want to get in the car. He was very scared, and even though, as I tell you, nothing had ever happened to him, he believes that the paranormal is real and knows that there is something beyond what we all see. In the end, he got in the car and was one of the truckers who followed him closely, keeping him company all the way to Monte Quemado. One night, like any other, my old man and I went to deliver a well-known newspaper. We started the route as always in Cordoba capital, and from there we headed to the small mountains up to Donfuns. Normally we would start at 11 at night and finish at 6 in the morning. That particular night, when what I'm about to tell you happened, I remember it was raining a lot. We had many nights like this, so it wasn't a problem. But the night was going to be different. In our Fiat 147, we would make those nearly 350 kilometers every night. The night began well, delivering newspaper packages in each city. It was right, leaving the city of Mendiolaza, that on a fairly steep climb we got a flat rear tire, and in the middle of the rain we pulled over to the side. We had to keep going. The car was still very loaded, so my dad took out the hydraulic jack and started changing the wheel. Luckily, the spare tire was next to the engine and not in the trunk, because if not, with the amount of merchandise we still had, it would have been impossible. My dad was having a lot of trouble, so I got down to help him, and even then, the rain was so heavy that we couldn't place the hydraulic jack to lift it. It was about 2:30 in the morning, and it was at that moment that something unique happened. A guy came out to our side, normal and very well dressed. I remember he had a hat and an umbrella. He greeted us, spoke a few words with my dad right there under the rain. We were soaked. My old man was pretty nervous by that point. This man, I don't know how, because he didn't do anything noticeable, but he gave us a kind of calmness. My dad was a completely ordinary man. His voice, features, height, everything about him was normal, with nothing unusual. The only strange thing was that we didn't know where he came from. There was nothing in sight in that area. The guy bent down next to my dad, and the two of them changed the tire right away. Just like that, he greeted us, opened his umbrella, and went into the bush from where we believe he came. And he disappeared. This was an experience that both of us remember to this day and tell friends about whenever the opportunity arises. Some say it was an angel, others that it was simply some ancestor who in one way or another took care of us at that moment. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Leave me your comment to know what you think about these 4 stories on Argentine roots. I send a big hug to everyone.